Metafix is a show that teaches you how to think in the metagame. I am not here to give you the answers, nor am I going to tell you how to win. Metafix teaches you how to play in the metagame and how to react around the metagame and what is in the metagame. If you're looking for the answers, try HC Realms, check the forums, they have all kinds of neat toys and tools and teams being brought up, and check the results of a lot of the ROC tournaments or any Worlds tournaments to see how teams played out and what teams were used for. I'm just here to help you think. Alright, so there's two parts to this episode that we have to discuss. One of which is I have to readdress a conversation we had in the past. Because when I had this conversation about ID cards, this was how many ID cards there were in the world. Okay? Avengers Assemble and the first 3 con exclusives. Then, they added 3 more con exclusives. Then the Age of Ultron set came out. Then Nick Fury Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. came out. There's a lot of these now. And initially, I had believed that the round table was going to be the thing that fixed a lot of characters as far as their use with the ID table cards. It did for some. Some characters I thought would be good turned out to be not as good, and some characters I thought were going to be okay turned out to be a lot better than I thought. These things happen. Things that haven't changed. Jarvis is definitely still good at bringing them back, bringing them in. And Jarvis has a new friend in doing that, and it is the Quinjet. Now, when I'm mentioning the Quinjet in the better competitive game, as much as I would really love the cool stats on this 140-point version to be a very feasible option, you really can't, you don't have the room for it, right? The 70-point version, in the meantime, with the resource style, comes in at, only 75 points to start. Consider it costing as much as 3 extra ID cards, because it does count as 3 characters for your ID card. So, 1, 2, 3. I'm just going to throw in some more perspective on this episode here. Jarvis can be added to that team. So, for 75 points, we've gone up to 90 points. Add another 40 points, 130. Adds another 3 ID cards to my team. Now, I've only spent 100 and... Was it? Is that right? 140? No. 90, 130 points. So we got 170 points still to work with. If I throw in a 30-point Ultron, I can throw in another ID card. I throw in something smaller like a Despitalis. That's another ID card. I don't know. Let's throw in another character. Let's just say the 65-point Ultron 5 for the sake of argument. I have now found myself adding 9 ID cards to my team. Still with enough room to add an entity to one of my characters. Now, that said, what kind of effect is this going to have on the game? Well, initially you're like, well, it's 9 ID cards with mediocre characters. Now, let's look back and see who's really good with ID cards. Well, there's such characters as Triathlon. Triathlon for the early game is really good. I originally said Nova wasn't good. Can I eat my words yet? There's a Nova that came out in the Guardians of the Galaxy set who does a 2 damage pulse wave to multiple characters. Well, that's big, apparently. He comes in at 60 points. So already we got 2 different characters that can be played at 60 points. And that 65-point Dial Ultron that I mentioned, very feasibly able to bring out those guys. And then you can roll the dice when you bring out those guys with the Quinjet in order to get it moving a little further. Now, the entire team that I discussed after the Ultron has been moved to Clix 2 and is starting to pilot this vehicle can carry the entire team I was talking about. And then, once this dial really starts getting moving, if you happen to move it, 10 clicks by, the third character being something decent, having cleared it, maybe taking a little bit of damage on the, Quinjet, which doesn't take penetrating damage, I might add. You're looking at a team that is now capable of bringing in some very scary characters. Such characters can be brought in with, the S.H.I.E.L.D. level 7 ID card. Who's bringable with that? Nick Fury is an option. Is there a 120-point Nick Fury, Amber? Now, I'm mentioning this very specific strategy because if you guys watch the Metal Lab, Aaron Cantu joined my show when I was in a bit of a pinch for my staff. All my guys were unavailable, so Aaron and Jason Kuhn were wonderful enough to join the team. and talk about this monstrosity that Aaron had come up with. And then he, as he's talking on his show right now, if you go check it out, Two Clicks from KO, their show, they actually talked to Easton Brock, who Aaron pressured into using this team in an ROC super qualifier in Alabama, and he won. That team itself, me and Amber are actually going to dissect piecemeal in our new show, which we've actually managed to get our Patreon subscribers to help us fund. So we're really looking forward to that. But in a nutshell, the Quinjet is here. It's relevant. It made itself relevant very quickly. It is very impressive as a piece as far as what it can do, especially if you're looking to make use of ID cards. There's so much to be said about having all these characters on the sideline, being able to bring them in and keep them around. Now, of course, at the risk of taking some damage with them, you might not see some of these characters stick around. But when you can bring out 300-point characters in the late game, you've really turned the table. Because I can't tell you how enough. When it gets to the late portion of the game, clicks are down, damage is low, defenses aren't fantastic, attack values are missing. And when you get to that point in the game, and you throw on a fresh 300-point character, watch the look of terror on an exhausted face, because that's what you're going to see. This vehicle is probably the best end result of an event as far as the competitive play is concerned. This is not going to be a shelf piece. It might be on your shelf for a bit, but expect to use it if you're looking for some competitive options with your ID cards. That said, that's been another week in Metafix. I've got my fix, you got your fix, and remember guys, practice makes your team better. The opinions and thoughts brought to you in Metafix are not meant for the casual game at the table. Married with Clix is brought to you by Majestic's HeroClix sales down in Costa Mesa, California. Right now, they're in the middle of storefront change. In the meantime, don't forget to check out their eBay store. If you check the link down below, they always have great HeroClix stuff at fantastic prices, and they'll ship just about anywhere.